Hey guys, so it's Ashana in virtual GSI mode. So a couple housekeeping announcements now that we're moving to an online format for the rest of the semester. And I've received a couple of emails from you stating to the extent that some of you will not be here in Berkeley on this time zone, in this hemisphere, that kind of thing. I'm going to be doing recorded videos at the beginning for the beginning of section, and then posting those kind of before section for you to watch at your leisure throughout the week. And then as an additional component that is interactive, we'll be doing a very brief sort of writing assignment that will be based on news articles associated with the topic of the week. So for this week, in international monetary relations, maybe I'll find a piece on Chinese exchange rate policy, US exchange rate policy, interesting ways that states are using monetary policy in this day and age, and craft a quick essay topic out of it, sort of like the final exam in the midterm format, which will help you for the exams, keep you up to date with what's happening in these issues in the real world, and also give you a bit more practice with connecting the theories with real life. So with that, we will go ahead and get started. We're going to talk about the Greco piece and then the Hellener piece today. I know that the EU speaker was the speaker this morning. I'm recording this on Monday, so it's weird. Will be the speaker tomorrow, was the speaker that you just heard from this morning. So you might not have read the International Monetary Relations reading. It's totally fine. Watch this later in the week when Vinny talks about it. Just so that you have a roadmap of where we're going today. I'll briefly sort of walk through some of the foreign exchange stuff, just so you have an idea, a better understanding of the way that like the supply and the demand for foreign exchange work, how depreciation of one currency pushes another currency in the opposite direction, causing depreciation. It's just sort of walking through that with graphs. I thought that might be helpful. And then after that, getting into the monetary policy stuff. Yeah. So with that, we're gonna do some fun econ graphs. It'll be pretty straightforward. Yeah, this stuff, exchange rates in particular, to me can be a little weird and tricky, especially because when I learned it, we were also doing there's like a long series of linked graphs that can get you from monetary policy to the exchange rate outcomes, and like the whole sequence of like the money supply and like the interest rates and loans and the way that affects the exchange rate. It's all connected, right? So there's a long sequence of graphs that we will not be going through, but all of these things affect each other, so it's important to kind of know how changes in one place affect changes in another. Cool. So the Greco piece is basically your general overview of exchange rates, right? Fixed exchange rates and floating exchange rates. And what we'll focus on today is looking at the way in which changes in the fixed exchange rate changes in flexible exchange rate, changes in the market for currency affect flexible exchange rates, and the ways in which countries use their balance of payments to maintain a fixed exchange rate. So in a flexible exchange rate situation, the market determines the supply and the quantity and price of your currency, supplied to the market. The other, the government uses its monetary policy toolkit to keep the price of their currency. It sounds weird, but that's what it is. It's the price of the currency at an artificially stable level, even when the market is pushing in a different direction. Okay, so the first case we'll look at is flexible. Also, things for you to email me about. Let me know if this whiteboard, blackboard thing isn't working. Given that I have to teach out of my house, this is kind of what I found at the art supply store. So yeah, if this is not doing it, let me know. I'll see what I can do. but this was my attempted improvisation. Numero uno. So we'll see. Yeah, if it works, it works. If it doesn't work, I'll fix it. But let me know. Cool. So flexible exchange rates. So I'm just walking through the graphs from the article, and then I think we'll explain in a little bit more detail sort of the ways in which supply and demand all affect each other. Cool. So you have the two graphs here that were in the book. And the first one is an increase in the demand for the currency. I think the book uses dollars, maybe uses pesos. And then the second chart will be an increase in the supply of the currency here. And I'll just use, I'm going to use lots of abbreviations because this might be kind of hard to see. So an increase in D demand. Okay, and on the axes, we've got the quantity. And vertical axis is the price. Also, if this is very weird in terms of the format, also let me know. It's a little odd for me to be lecturing to a computer screen. So if it seems a little awkward, it's a little awkward. All right. So in the first example, the demand for dollars is increasing. So here you have the supply. That subscript is 0 because it's the initial starting point. And then the demand, D, 0. And then this example, the demand increases to D1. And in this scenario, it's a flexible exchange rate, which means that the market forces of supply and demand for the currency are going to determine the equilibrium price. So when we're thinking about these axes, this is the price of the currency. So it's like the price of Swiss franc in terms of dollars. So let's say like a franc is worth $1.2. That's the price of the currency, not just the quantity. So with here, when under these market forces, when say there's an increase in the demand for the currency, maybe a bunch of countries are importing goods from that country, thereby needing to use that. So like if a bunch of countries are importing goods from the United States, they need a bunch of dollars to pay for those goods, the demand for dollars increases. So this means that the demand curve is shifting outward to the right, and the equilibrium quantity shifts from this equilibrium point up here. And this represents a shift along the supply curve, whereas the demand curve is shifting, and this increases both the equilibrium price and the equilibrium quantity of the currency supplied. The logic here being that as when the demand curve shifts and the price increases, people will be more willing to supply the currency in the international market, and then obviously as more people are demanding the thing and more people are supplying the thing, the quality would also shift out. Cool. So this is pretty straightforward. I think the flexible exchange rate is relatively intuitive. Basic market forces. So just to walk through the next example quickly. So what happens when the supply of dollars increases? And so this example is like hella relevant in terms of like why might be worried? Why might be the United States be worried of trying to like sell all of their treasury bills, that kind of thing? and really floods the market with dollars, right? So what happens when the supply of dollars increases? Like, why might that be a destabilizing thing for the market? Okay, so here's demand 1, demand 0. S0, and then the supply just shifts out like that. So if this is P1, Q, P0, Q0, it's all the same. Okay. And then P1, P1. Cool. So the supply of dollars increases. And unlike the last graph, the effects were not both in the same direction for the price and the quantity. So here, the price and the quantity of the currency just increase. If the demand increases, here when the supply increases, the price decreases. So this makes sense. As the supply of something increases, the price of it falls because there are more units of the thing provided, holding demand constant. And so the price goes down, and then the quantity supplied increases, leading to a lower equilibrium price. So that is the flexible exchange rate, where the market adjusts for fluctuations. Cool. So next we'll do the fixed exchange rate. Just a sec. I need to grab it. All right, y'all. Back at it with fixed exchange rate. All right. So in fixed exchange rate regimes, the government basically will use its reserves of currency and either purchase or sell more of the currency on the market in order to compensate for changes in the exchange rate for the market forces. So basically, the government uses its balance of payments to adjust for any market fluctuations, thereby keeping the exchange rate at the same level. When we talk about imports and exports and the way that other countries respond to this, this is important because, for example, if you're China and you're exporting a ton of goods to the United States and you've got the renminbi, and the US is the dollar, and then all of a sudden the renminbi appreciates and US goods and Chinese goods become more expensive to American consumers because the dollar has less purchasing power relative to the renminbi. If the renminbi appreciates, the US dollar depreciates. And then US consumers have less purchasing power. That means that they'll buy less of your stuff. So China won't export as much to the United States when the currency appreciates, which is why a country like China that exports a lot might want to artificially devalue their currency, which we'll see when the demand for the currency increases and the price wants to increase, and the government's like, no. So let's go. All right. So in this case, the demand for, I'm just saying dollars, but we all know the United States is not a fixed exchange rate. Yes. Cool. So in this case, the demand increases, the curve moves to, if this were section, I'd be like, what direction does it move? But you know, actually, like with this whole mirroring thing, it's a little ambiguous. That way. Anyway, so here in equilibrium market economy land, well, floating exchange rate land, you would see the price and the quantity, the price of the currency go up. The currency would appreciate more quantity. Okay, but the government, so if this is P star, the government wants to keep P star the same. So P star is here, and Q star is there. The government says that the government of this country will use their balance of payments, so their reserves, to make sure that P star stays the same, even when the demand for currency is out here. So the demand for currency increases. The government wants to keep the price the same. What do? They artificially increase the quantity. So in this case, when the government wants to increase the quantity that's currency available on the market to depreciate the value, this could be the Mexican government going to the United States and saying, hey, we got a lot of pesos that we're trying to get rid of. Insert more meaningful hypothetical scenario. The US will give the Mexicans dollars, we'll give the US their pesos, there'll be more pesos in the international market. Basically, the government will supply an increased quantity of pesos to make up for this gap, such that the price doesn't change. Cool. All right. So in this scenario, kind of the opposite thing. I'm going to still say here. All right. So in this case, the supply increases and the government, and remember, when the supply of the currency increased in the last example, in equilibrium, the quantity supplied increased, but the price fell. So in this case, when the quantity supplied increases S1, the price wants to go down, right? The price wants to go here, but the government's like, no. So in order to keep the price here, they have to move up and increase. Yes, this is in fact correct. Yeah, they have to demand more of the currency. And this is when the government will buy back the currency such that they create demand for the currency that doesn't naturally exist in the market, and thereby the price stays the same. Right here, the government just buys this much with the margin. Cool. And so that's what a fixed exchange rate is. All right. So next, we're going to talk about balance of payments and then move on to the fiscal and monetary policy. Cool. All right. On to balance of payments. So this stuff is pretty straightforward. The balance of payments is just sort of an aggregate of the transactions of residents of a state within a period of time. And it's comprised of the current account and the capital account. Ideally, it's supposed to be balanced, which implies if one of them is positive, the other one might be negative. So balance. Okay. So what is within these two different things? The current account is primarily like what you would think of in terms of trade. So goods and services. And then also income. And then the capital account is what you'll think of in terms of investments. So like FDI and that kind of thing. Yeah. So pretty straightforward. But I think like you hear like Trump in the news, current account deficit so bad, right? But like if you have a capital account surplus, okay. So it's sort of one of those things that sort of thrown around a lot and misused. And like an example of a balance of payments deficit would be if the supply of dollars exceeds the demand of dollars. And then like if you have a fixed exchange rate, the government would buy dollars in exchange for, would buy their currency back in exchange for another currency to keep capital in the country. So yeah, let's move on to gross national product. I'll just dive right into it. I'll write the equation down here. There's not really, we'll get into monetary policy, but basically the concept of GNP, this is just like basic macroeconomics with balance of payments accounting. So income Y, that's income, is equal to the sum of consumer expenditures, investment, which is like your capital account, the government spending, and this is, the government spending is revenue, expenditures, everything the government spends minus revenue, so taxes. So and then plus X minus obviously exports minus imports. So fiscal and monetary policy generally involves the government attempting to stimulate like C or I with different policy tools. That being with monetary policy, that being the interest rate, in order to stimulate demand. So if you wanted to increase income, the government would, sorry, to back this up. So for monetary policy, the government operates so when the state uses monetary policy, it operates through the central bank in order to influence the economy. So what we might think of as accommodative monetary policy is that of working through central banks, right? To either increase investment to decrease the interest rate and increase consumer expenditures on things to like boost demand and increase the amount of money in the economy. And that's like exchangeary monetary policy. Or you could have restrictive policy that decreases demand through increasing the interest rate, so making it harder for people to borrow money, thereby decreasing consumption. So depending on what the goals of the government are, the kind of economic climate that we're facing, they might pursue either expansionary or restrictive monetary policy. All right, y'all. So that'll be a wrap of the Grieco reading. I'm going to do a quick bit in just a moment on the Helena piece, and I'll just do a quick timeline of the different events that you might want to remember in terms of the chronology in which they occurred as they relate to the international monetary system today. All right, cool. All right, you guys, last little bit of section stuff. So I just wanted to do a quick recap. We've already talked about a lot of this before in terms of like Bretton Woods, et cetera, but the Helena piece does lay out very nicely the history of the international trading, the international financial system, so I figured might as well put it on a timeline. Once again, one of those things, if this is like not a useful format at all for you to remember information, like, and you have alternative ideas, shoot me an email, right? I'm all ears. This online virtual learning thing is new to all of us. I'm trying to balance efficiency with like the benefits of students. Sorry, drop the chalk. All right, let's go. Okay, So in 1930, like I think the book goes into a little bit more detail about the sequence of events that led to like the sort of implosion of the trading or of like the international financial system before 1930, densely interconnected, and then because of potentially the lack of a hegemon to maintain the system, other competing theories of domestic political forces, this kind of goes away and it becomes very fragmented, lots of regional trading blocks, and then some protection stuff as well. So system collapse. So that's where our timeline begins. 1944, as we all know, Bretton Woods, which gets you the IMF, the World Bank. I think it was like the IBRD, but I'm just gonna call it the bank. And then like the ITO, that, whatever, the trade one in its nascent form. But this is monetary. Cool. So this establishes Bretton Woods and ties the value of the US currency to the physical quantity of gold in the world, and all the other countries are sort of pegged to that. So this establishes Bretton Woods, and then this system lasted until, I guess, I think it was 1971 is when the gold window closes. So that's the hard line in the timeline. And then from, I think, 73 to 78, like the new system was sort of reconfigured without the US pegged to the gold. So this lasted until 71. Other important developments in 1969, special drawing rights were introduced to the International Monetary Fund, sort of an interstate balance of payments, resolution mechanism rather than like an alternative type of currency. Although recently, as noted by the book, China has been more increasingly interested in using special drawing rights in a wider degree, I think. So that's when that happened. In 71, the US under Nixon cedes dollar hegemony. Just kidding. The convertibility of the US dollar into gold, not dollar hegemony. Dollar hegemony still kind of exists. It still does. Cool. So that's that. From 73 to 78, the new floating system was established sort of throughout those years, with countries sort of adopting a variety of different either floating or like developing countries pegged to the dollar sometimes, exchange rates to prevent wild fluctuations. But because the US dollar is sort of the dominant currency of the system, obviously, it's the world's reserve currency. So the dollar still dominant. And some might argue that the global financial crisis in 2008 throws a lot of this into question. That being said, the dollar the Ravenhill book, How the Hell in a Piece, makes the case the dollar kind of does okay. Maybe because of the failure of the euro to really meet expectations at the crisis started. It's getting kind of hard to see it, I think. But the dollar ends up doing okay. Maybe there is a bit of a threat. In some cases, to dollar hegemony, especially as the Chinese really seem to place less credibility in the financial dictates of the United States after the global financial crisis. That being said, the mismanagement of the euro and sort of the obvious challenges of one cohesive monetary policy implemented within a bunch of states at different developmental stages with very different intrastate industrial mixes, like Greece, Germany. It would make sense that they would need different monetary policies to level their prices, right? Like austerity really would affect Germany differently than it would Greece, and like that leads to tension within the EU, Brexit, et cetera, et cetera. So yeah, the euro does not do so good in 2008. The dollar still on top. Where does that lead to today? I think as cryptocurrency and other types of currencies, okay, I think it's really only cryptocurrency, but there are different types of cryptocurrencies emerge. There will be an increasingly large debate around the continuation of dollar hegemony. That being said, I wouldn't say without the USD. So maybe dollar hegemony is under threat, and the international monetary system is about to have another decisive break from dollar hegemony that leads even further away from the international system established after the Second World War. But who knows? So with that, I will leave you guys. Thank you for bearing through a bit of econ and a bit of historical recap with me. As I've mentioned throughout this lecture, let me know what does and doesn't work for you. Maybe it's too much lecture. If it is, just like skip to the parts that you don't understand and like don't watch the parts that you already know very well. So, pick and choose as you would like to. And then I'll have info posted on a brief writing assignment, and that'll be due just to let y'all know, like a week after section. So I'm gonna make like an assignments tab on B-courses and just like set a deadline there for like next Tuesday. If that's a problem, let me know. I'm flexible, but cool. Sounds good. See you maybe never again. I'm just kidding. Hopefully virtually, maybe in person. Either way, stay safe and survive the crazy week. All right. Bye.